So let's see, what time is it? Oh, it's
Okay,
time. Let's
it's
get
six
started.
o'clock. Yeah, we can go ahead and
Yeah.
dive in. Welcome to Assassin's Creed Unity. I personally am very excited about this. It's a game that I reference every time I talk about Notre Dame in a class, but have actually not that much experience watching gameplay for, and it's been a while since Dave has really played this one too. So we're looking forward to seeing how everything turns out. I have added the questions for if you're doing this for an assignment or extra credit. I have the worksheet questions in the chat. You might have to scroll back a little bit. Um, I was gonna start by maybe reading the questions. Um, but maybe should we wait till we're in a building to read the questions, or do you want me to read while you
I
make
would
your way?
say let's do our little
Okay.
intro while we make our
Okay.
way.
Okay. So tell us
Yes.
about this.
So I'm going to hit us with a way back when moment.
Yes.
Going back to
Good.
2009, a young
Yes.
Bevin and young David are in Europe
Yes.
doing study abroad, becoming best bros.
Yes. This is really the origin story.
And we both sort of over the years have intellectually, so to speak, been in love with Gothic architecture.
For sure. That was my favorite thing on our whole study
Yes,
abroad that summer was the Gothic architecture. And this is before I had decided I was going to be a medievalist.
yes,
Like it just was my
and
favorite thing.
and I was trying to decide between being a medievalist and doing
Right.
contemporary work because they are
Right.
surprisingly close moments to each other
Totally
thematically.
weird.
Yes, it is bizarre. But we got to see both of these, or all of the places we're about to look at tonight, all three of these
Yeah.
places. But they have also, like, throughout our careers, loomed large as sort of like favorite memories, favorite lectures.
For
But
sure.
in addition to that, ever since 2009, we have both sort of shared the dream of what if we could use these games to teach architecture. Because
Yep.
as some of you may or may not know, the very first Assassin's Creed that came out in 2008, 9, 7,
Hmm.
something like that. Definitely came out while
Yeah.
we were undergrads.
Yeah.
Takes place during one of the Crusades. So you see a lot of
Yep.
famous medieval architecture in the Middle East, right? Stuff from Damascus, the Dome of the Rock,
Yeah. Very cool.
right? And then there's the second one that takes place during the Renaissance, and there's all of these famous structures there. So this
Yeah,
is
that's
kind
right.
of our first time doing the actual game to teach architecture, but also to sort of look at and really be critical and put to the test video games' ability to sort of, I guess, transpose and educate us about these other media.
Yeah. As a teaching tool.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're too high. I
We are
don't
so high.
I
We
don't
are
like
so
it.
high. So, got to keep going. We
Oh,
know.
okay, I've been right there.
Yes, yes, we
A little off
have.
on the railing, but Dave, you and Rachel Gaddy went when we were there.
Yep.
I was too scared, and so I stayed down on the ground.
And then there are
Um,
staircases that go into this structure here,
yes.
which are the bell
Okay,
towers.
okay.
And this is always one of the questions I have had about their restoration. So in
Yeah,
these bell towers, so this is
yeah.
what, 40 feet? No, let's see, this tower is what, maybe 20, 30 feet wide?
Oh, I have no idea. Don't ask
So
me. I'm not sure.
there are beams that run near the width of the tower that you could hollow it out and drive a Suburban through, and there would
Hmm.
still probably be enough wood there to support driving that Suburban through. Like that was how the dimensions of these wood beams. And I just
Yeah,
there's not much less French oak left. French oak that's that big.
yeah. I know.
So I've
I
always
don't
wondered
know.
how they reconciled the president's demand that they use French oak.
Right. That is what they decided to do and said they were doing, and I don't know.
All right.
I've not seen any critical questioning of
Yeah.
whether or not
Ooh,
that happened.
trying to find a spot it'll let me climb all the way
But
up.
also, what sucks is these little sculptures are the Viollet-le-Duc restoration, as is the
Yes.
spire, which wouldn't have been in place yet at this point, I don't
No,
think.
correct. So
So,
these are a inaccuracy, but a helpful inaccuracy for when they were making the restorations.
that is true, and helpful for us as viewers who recognize those as part of Notre Dame,
Yes. Yeah. All right.
even if they were not quote unquote original to the building.
Yeah. Oh, why won't it let me climb up here? It may not want me to climb all the way up to the top of this. All right. We're going to have to go to the other part. Have to go to this spire.
Which is where the fire originated.
Yes.
In 2000.
And this metal roofing that we see here
terrifying.
is part of the Viollet-le-Duc restoration as well.
Yes. And it's lead,
Yeah.
which caused some problems when it melted all over everything.
Yeah.
And got lead all over everything. Oops.
Yeah. So this was one of the Assassin's Creeds
Oh, it's pretty.
where they were trying to revamp the movement system. So it feels a little funky compared to some of the others, but
Oh my god, it's so high.
yeah.
Like, I was ready in the questions. One of the questions asks us about, like, do we get the proper feeling of being in the building? And I was ready to be pretty skeptical of that. But I am, like, not liking how high he is right now.
Yeah. So, by law, right across Western Europe, this has to be the highest point in town. Up until I think the Eiffel Tower is built.
Probably.
Right, but by law for a long time in any city in Western Europe, the largest or the tallest building had to be the cathedral. Right, and not if we all, if pardon everybody if they know this, but not every church is a cathedral, right?
Right.
Because the cathedral, there's only one in every city, and that's where the bishop of that city sits.
Yeah, it's the seat of the bishop.
And we can see our other church we're going to right over there.
Aha, is that Saint-Chapelle?
Yeah, Saint-Chapelle, which is really more of a chapel, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah,
All right.
I mean, it's big. So
Yeah.
We'll,
All right, so this is, right, our Gothic architecture. Right here, look at our floor plan. Great
I
view
love
of the
it.
floor plan. And it's, right, always Western Catholic churches are always in that cruciform shape.
love
Right, the
that.
cross,
Basilica floor plan.
the body of
These are words
Christ.
that that some of us know, and we've got a basilica floor plan, so a long nave that goes all the way down to a circular apse niche, and this one has
right
the
down here at the
transept
end.
arm crossing.
The transept arm crossing here. We'll have, right, our ambulatories, our little walking spaces around it that are kind of echoed on the roof of the building, even though only people working at the church would have had access to this upper walkway for the most part.
Right.
And then we famously...
Very good view of our
flying buttresses, yeah. So that's our first stop, are going to be our flying buttresses.
Oh, so good. Okay, here he goes.
Yep.
Gotta get down to them flying buttresses.
And we're coming by our pointed arches, our trefoil and quatrefoil windows, which are all hallmarks of the French, specifically the French style of Gothic architecture, but all Gothic architecture.
Look at him go.
Right, so here are our flying buttresses.
Oh my goodness, I'm on a flying buttress right now.
And this is why this is so good, because you never... And I feel like I'm blowing up one of our questions. Let's do our questions first, now that we're here. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me read the first question. In Gothic architecture, the interior of the church is meant to be a liminal space between heaven and earth. This is in part achieved with tall ceilings, height, and colored rays of light produced by stained glass. The light, right? Our height and light motto. Using the in-game facsimile of Notre Dame de Paris, this building we are on, and Sainte-Chapelle, which we will visit later, Please describe how these effects of height and light are or are not achieved. How effectively are they rendered in the game? And do you feel the height and light?
Right. So like
That's the first question.
yeah. So in a way, think about this as the real building, but also in a way we're
Right.
recognizing that this is an out of time facsimile. Okay. So
Yeah.
we were just at the top. Here's our western portal. Right. We have our classic, one of my favorite Mickey ableisms, the scared
Yeah.
spiritual judgment scene.
Yes.
Right,
I
with our
love it.
tympanum and our jam sculptures,
Yes.
right? And then these huge heavy doors. So, before we go in, one of the things I think is really neat, and this is sort of part of our Gothic art lectures that we do, is that these buildings don't belong to just the Gothic art period, right? They
Right.
existed before that as churches. The Gothic period is just sort of their last facelift they got, but they have existed every day in the lives of citizens and Catholics and Christians on all of these places for centuries now. And so one of the things we see here is the church playing that role during the Revolution to harbor stuff inside. Now, whether or not they actually did this during the Revolution, I'm not sure. But we do know throughout history they have stored people in there, weapons, things to protect it. They sandbag the churches. They build sandbags in them during World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
And then we get what they usually don't have anymore are our incense burners are active.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So, right, we'll sort of talk about it a little more with Sainte-Chapelle, but these very much, especially in the Gothic and pilgrimage periods, are very sort of alluring, magical, enchanting spaces on the inside.
Heck yeah. Oh my God, look at us go.
But yeah, this would have been, if you had the chance to go to one of these buildings, with the exception of living in like Istanbul and Rome, maybe.
Yeah.
This would have likely been the largest structure and the largest interior space you ever saw.
Yep.
And
I would say easily.
and very much could have also been the most colorful space
Yeah.
that you had ever seen.
Probably.
Because what we're not seeing here, and what the game doesn't do as well with, are all of the wall decorations and paintings that would have existed in here at one time or another.
Yeah. And what I do know about Notre Dame at the time of the French Revolution is that it was in sort of a state of disrepair.
Yes.
So it's possible it was not at its best necessarily. Yes. This is a time where France is starting to become a little more secularized, and so we're using the church, like it's this major hub. But if we think back to around the time it was built, closer to the time it was built, then it would have really been filled with textile, sculpture, colorful stuff everywhere, artwork, altar pieces. It would have had a little bit of a different kind of flair on the inside than what we see here in the French Revolution.
But we can still appreciate some of that experience, right? The rose window.
Yes.
And one of the things that I want to point out is, as we see Arno, who is our main character here, he would not have just white light like this shining on him.
Right.
Right. It would be coming in and covering him in a kaleidoscope of colors. Right. These beams hanging in the air are not white beam colors. Right. They are faint.
It does a good job of making that beam, but it should be more colorful.
It should have much more color to the beams in here.
Yeah.
But it does a great job of the scale. I mean, because it gets it laser exact, right? This was one of their buildings that the producers, Ubisoft, bragged about, like they did these hyper accurate laser scans, and it was the first of its kind that had been done at. So we can have very much a confidence in the dimensions of the structure. Yeah.
Right. That we can climb around on these ropes and stuff and get kind of up in the the vaulting and
Yeah. All right, so let's go through our second question
yes, the
while we're
second
in
question
here.
asks a little bit of technical,
Yeah, and we can look
architectural
through some of
stuff.
that stuff here.
Yes. There are several major engineering innovations that allow Gothic architecture to build taller and more open structures. Using this streamed lecture, do your best to explain the following architectural elements. How do those elements historically support the effect of Gothic architecture? And the elements we give as examples on this worksheet are kind of the main ones, and that is ribbed vaults, pointed arches, and flying buttresses.
And so we
And
see
those are some of the structures in the building that allow us to make this ginormous interior space.
two perfect examples of those here, right? So
Great.
the pointed arch, quite
Yes.
literally, and so the just to preface this question is hopefully we're going to get some people that have not heard this before, and they're getting this fresh, and we can sort of gauge how well the game teaches this. But the
Yeah.
pointed arches are this exact shape. Oops, hold on. I will
Oh,
have to
we're
jump
falling.
back. We're falling. Sorry, fellas. Whoops.
There we go.
Okay, here we go. We're going to run outside while they're mad at us, and we're going to look at the flying
Okay.
buttress.
Ooh, look. Oh
So
my
there's that
God.
great... Isn't it a Michelangelo drawing that shows a person standing next to one of these?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a great drawing of the Renaissance, though, that one of the masters... It's not Da Vinci, because I know he was in Paris and dies there. But one of the masters makes of a person standing next to it. But we really never catch the scale of these in photos. And they're these
No.
enormous multi-layered structures. So it's kind of gross to think about it, but one of the easiest ways, I think, without our Mickey Abel human arch demonstration
Yes.
is think of, we call them ribbed vaults, and the ribs are a great way to think about this. So if you imagined you had to anchor your body to like the ground or the wall, these are almost as if our actual ribs popped out of our body and fixed themselves to the ground beside us to hold us still, right? But they sort of run into our body still and do that interior work of ribs.
Yeah.
So
I
that
always think of it like as like a back brace. Or one of those like external fixator things where instead of just a cast, they put screws into your bone and there's like a piece of metal outside of you.
I like my analogy way better.
You want there to be splays of
Splays of ribs,
Yeah.
yeah. A flayed body with ribs splayed out, like grotesque double layers of
Blood
ribs.
eagle, like
Bloody, yeah.
blood eagle ribs.
But
sticking
essentially, they are exterior rib supports,
out. Yes.
right, that take the load-bearing function away from the wall.
Yes. And I love this is so cool because you can find some pictures of, you know, where photographers have been up there and had access and stuff. But this is not the kind of space like you can't go up and walk around here when you go visit these buildings.
A person
you never ever see it like this.
Yes, this is a form of architectural access, so to speak, that only exists in this game.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right.
Like this is obviously a walkway, but no one ever can walk there.
No one can ever walk there, and then we're certainly not allowed to climb around on this ancient stone structure and hop off on stuff and not die is either.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's amazing. And yeah, these are the exterior where they come up and pinch in, and they're called flying buttress. The word buttress really just means support. And so they fly over and they touch at just the right spot where the interior ribbed vaults are channeling the weight down and out. And this is breaking it up so that it doesn't go all the way down the walls and instead funnels through these buttress supports so that the walls can be opened up for windows, for as large a windows as we possibly can.
Right.
So it's really all, it's a game of channeling the distribution of weight through these different structures
Yes.
so that the walls themselves aren't load bearing and we can put windows in them.
Yeah, like you said, for the explicit purpose of putting in as
Yeah.
much stained glass as we can. So
Number one goal.
we see those buttresses come in, and these very lines that we see
Right.
on the ceiling will link up to
Yeah.
where those buttresses connect at the top of our. Again, this is bizarre because we were talking about modern architecture, what are almost pilotis, right? Our tripartite
Yeah.
column,
Yeah.
and that's exactly where the buttresses will meet. And
Yeah.
then along with helping the buttresses, the shape of the church body itself is this pointed arch, right? Like if we were to look down the length of it, it's just a vault. So it's one arch continued forward and
These are
backwards.
pointed arches.
Yeah. And so the whole thing is designed to create as large of an interior space that, again, we can fill with this relatively, to the Gothic period, this relatively new stained glass.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And like I like the pointed arch, of course, is a very sound structure. It's useful in that kind of way. It pushes weight down really well. But even if you were to just put a regular rounded arch next to a pointed arch, the pointed arch has that emphasis on
Verticality, right?
So it makes it look taller and higher than it even is.
And it creates what we call sort of the vertical lines of ascension.
Whoa, there you go.
Yeah. So that
I love that stained glass up there, that rose window.
Yeah, so that as we are whoops, come on. Eject. So that as we come in, right, as dutiful pilgrims, we're going to reenact coming in a way as a Gothic era pilgrim.
Oh, very good. I love that.
Right? So we're going to come in, right? This is not going to be a rowdy place like this. There will be tons of people. Because even in the 11th or 12th century, this is quite literally a tourist attraction as part of the Camino de Santiago and just drawing people in for the church. So we'll come in, right? And we're spoken to, sort of harshly warned about being a good Christian, right? We're gonna be scared spiritual, and then we come in, and immediately we are looking skyward,
it's so good.
right, towards the heavens, and in our Gothic moment, verticality and transcendence are physical connections. Like we believe that we move upwards when we transcend to heaven, and we will fall downwards being damned.
Yes.
Right? So that power of, so the going upness, so to speak, that this building incites, is very powerful. And the super cool thing is when we look up, there's going to be a perpetual like haze of smoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we even almost get the sense of clouds hanging in there. And then if we can imagine like what one of those clouds would have looked like and caught in the air while the sun came in.
And the colored glass.
And the colored glass.
Filtering that light.
And so what are we not doing? You know, I always ask my students, like, what are we not doing in church at this moment? Right? We're not sitting down.
Right. Yeah.
Right. In the Gothic period.
We're moving through it.
Yeah, we are ambulating, walking, talking. And we're going to walk through these side spaces, stop at chapels. We're going to light candles. We're going to make offerings. We might find a place where we can, make a confession or something.
Get a blessing.
All sorts of stuff. And that's what these areas would have been, our radiating side chapels. Where
so good.
Each one would have been another opportunity for us to have spent money somewhere, right? Support the church in some way.
Yeah. I would literally just never leave this building if I was.
It's tough. That's why I haven't finished it on the playthrough.
Me when I go to a real church in Europe and I just want to walk around and go from church to church.
And then we have at least some historically accurate choir screen right here, right? This is where clergy would have sat. Although it does not have... This is the one with the raunchy carvings underneath, right?
Sometimes, yeah. It depends. Obviously, they don't all have that. But
I believe that was Notre Dame, though. But right, this is where there
Maybe,
would have been clergy. There would have been a screen, well, I think right here, behind the altar.
Sort of maintain some privacy.
Yeah, and then there would have been an altar that is sometimes occupied by clergy who are, doing various things. But then we would have kept walking. Whoops.
Whoa. Geez.
Whoa. Uh-oh.
Not in a church, sir. Okay, so while you're fighting him, a question in the chat asked about like the clutter.
Yes.
In the building, and I do think, especially during the French Revolution, that is probably closer to accurate.
Yeah.
It would have always been much more full than we think of it now. Like,
yes.
Now when we encounter Gothic architecture, it's like echoey and empty and cold. And it would have been filled to the brim with art and furnishings
and
people.
And trophies and stuff to see.
Yeah. Sort of like clutter, to your point, is probably mostly a result of it being in sort of a rundown state by the French Revolution, which is around when this game is taking place.
And that happens sort of two major political reasons. Two might be simplifying it. But the Bourbon monarchy, who the Louis were well part of, and we'll see sort of a famous church of one of the Louis up next, right? They always fostered, specifically because of the Louis we're about to see, very close ties with the Pope. They were kind of, in a way, like the Borgias of the neoclassical and Rococo period. And so at the break of the Revolution, there is that distrust, right? The distrust of sort of any large institution. But also there is the moment that the word citizen becomes very important in the French landscape, the Parisian landscape in this moment. And it's a thing that people are constantly terrified about having to recreate, right? Because every time we think, like, this is what Parisians should be like, we're marching them up to the guillotine. Like first it was the king, and then it's our first band of revolutionaries, and then it's the second one, and then it's this new guy that came along, and then, oh God, there's a third revolution now.
Yeah.
So that crafting of personal identity becomes a matter of survival for especially Parisians of any means. And so along with trying to adopt the ethos of the Enlightenment, which has a very different interpretation of God, right? So like the founding fathers and all of these guys think of it as much more of a sense of nature and like a spirit than they want to the church anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So historically, that is why prior to Viollet-le-Duc, a lot of these buildings had fallen on hard times.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to let's go to Sainte-Chapelle.
I'm desperate to go to Sainte-Chapelle. I can't wait.
Okay. So unfortunately, and I believe perhaps historically accurate, we're only allowed into the king's floor of Sainte-Chapelle. Right. So it undercuts a little bit of the demonstration, but we'll get it. Ooh, can't.
That's okay.
All right. So here we are.
Sainte-Chapelle is so good.
We can already tell it's Gothic architecture. We have some small flying buttresses, right? This is not a cathedral or even a full-size church. This is what we would call a Palatine chapel.
Yeah.
Right? Which is the...
Palatine is that it's attached to the palace.
Mm-hmm. And so this is built by/for King Louis IX.
Yes.
Who is a very sort of special king in French history. Because he comes at a time when they are selling both him and Paris as the New Jerusalem and the next coming of Christ in a way. That he was going to be this... He
will become Saint Louis.
Yes.
That's what Saint Louis is.
Yes, he is born into being Saint Louis, and he will rise to this position inevitably.
An especially Christian, pious king, and so they build this beautiful, beautiful chapel.
Oh, here it is. Never mind, we were on the wrong chapel. There it is. Much bigger.
There it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful chapel. It basically is just a nave with an apse. Like, we don't have side aisles. I don't think it even has flying buttresses. I think they're just attached.
Nope, they're just attached.
Enormous.
No, it does not have the flying
But
ones.
the amount of stained glass in this joint is absolutely
I'm
insane.
pretty sure it's like 30,000 square feet.
It's a
Right?
lot. Like,
It,
whatever it is, I always say that's way bigger than any house I've ever had.
yeah, it's enough to build like 2 large houses and
Yeah,
then some.
just
So
in stained glass.
we see it is a large structure. It has a first and second floor.
Hmm.
All right, so I have a particular love for Gothic churches and this one because I teach about them in both my history of immersive art and my history of psychedelic art.
Yes.
So we're going to sort of imagine, we're going to close our eyes a little bit and imagine that we're going to break some history here because we would not be allowed in this building because we are not King Louis the 19th,
Oh, that's true.
Queen Blanche, the Queen Mother, or his family. But let's
That's
just
very
say we're allowed into this building.
Okay.
So we're coming in, we're road weary, we've been traveling, right? Pilgrimaging is hard by design in a way.
Yeah.
And so
Everyone's eyes should be closed. We're playing along.
everyone's eyes are closed.
Yes.
And so we're going to walk into this building, right? And we're going to imagine that the building, in a way, right, is an envelope, right, between two spaces, right? It encapsulates, it surrounds, it bubbles in this magical space that is neither heaven or earth, but specifically some overlap in between.
Yes.
And we certainly see lives of color, like our clothing can be colorful, fruits colorful, nature's colorful, but we don't see a lot of printed, colored artwork stuff, right? We see
Yeah.
painted signs, right? We see,
Sure.
people can do that stuff, but the idea of there being media that we see, we don't see as much of this.
Yeah.
And when we walk into cathedrals, we have to remember how they're illuminated, right? It's the natural light that comes through the stained glass windows, and then it's candlelight. And what that does, along with creating the smoke from the candlelight and the incense, is it leaves particles in the air that enhance the experience of catching those colored beams of light. They become almost this platonic understanding of like this firm geometric beam that hangs in there and affects us. And we'll see it in rays. And that effect is probably nowhere better felt than coming into Saint-Chapelle.
Open your eyes.
Right?
Oh, God, it's good.
So,
oh my goodness. I've
This
never been in here in this game. I've never seen this.
this drastically undersells the experience.
It does.
The experience in real life, I have to say, is far more spectacular.
More amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Agree.
There's one very obvious mistake they have made that drives me insane.
What?
So the ceiling here has the traditional gold stars on the blue sky, blue field to
Oh, the
represent the
stars?
heavens, but there's supposed to be fleur-de-lis in this building.
Yes.
Because that is the king's announcement that the Bourbon monarchy is now, what's the Latin term? Sine qua non? But is essentially, we are saying that the Bourbon monarchy is this next coming, this heavenly body. We dominate and control the actual heavens, your salvation, which is a theme that is especially particular to this church. But this is what, in a lot of their moments, the Gothic cathedrals would have been much more garishly painted like this.
Yes. That's what I love about the way they've kept
Yes.
Chappelle up, is that we're so used to it being
That.
gray stone
Yep.
inside these churches, and they would have been painted, and maybe not this fancy
No.
because this is the King's Chapel.
Right, they
but
wouldn't-
would have been really, really colorful.
It wouldn't have been this much blue, and you could not use this fleur-de-lis without the king's permission.
Right.
It was like
And
almost
all
like
the
a royal
gold
trademark,
and-
and all the gold would have been expensive. But this, in a way, is a single idea and reliquary that is echoed out into threefold. Right? So this is created again by Louis the Ninth, who's also known as sort of our last crusade king, right? Because he dies in northern Africa, and his death largely ends the crusades. right? But he's born, he ascends the throne as a very young king, and we see right in his moralized Bible, his mother, Queen Blanchard, very early on says, like, you know, and we always joke about this in one of my classes, like, the most dangerous time for kings is right when they become king, right? This is why Charlemagne partners with Pope Leo, right? So, and he's a boy. So his mother's very politically savvy, and she knows I have to secure the most powerful alliance I can right now. So she reaches out to the Pope, and she was like, hey, let's renew this Bourbon monarchy Pope alliance. You look out for my son. We will raise him to be like the next super Christian king that like perfectly aligns with the papacy's goals as well. So he grows up his whole life being told that he is this man, right? That he will make Paris the New Jerusalem, that he will go on the Crusades and save Christendom and return its relics. And while we know he doesn't buy or go to the relics, go to the Crusades and capture the relics, he buys them from Byzantine dealers. That is what is in the reliquary up here, which again is not there to have laser scans made of it anymore, so they don't have it here.
Right.
But there would have been a golden chest up here. Do you want to tell us about what's in there?
Yeah. So the relics that are that were kept at Sainte-Chapelle was supposed to have been a piece of the crown of thorns, which is the thorny crown that they press down on Jesus's head.
One of the instruments of the Passion,
mock him, yes. And a piece of the true cross, which is what they call the cross that Jesus was crucified on. They were at one point moved from Sainte-Chapelle to Notre Dame, and kept at Notre Dame. They had already been removed and stored safely elsewhere when Notre Dame caught on fire in 2019.
Yes, I believe they're still at the Louvre.
It might be. I know someone made a new reliquary for them at the Notre Dame when they reopened it, and I think it's kind of ugly, but okay. But I don't know if the relics themselves have been returned yet or not.
Yeah.
And there's a stained glass window here that actually shows Louis IX carrying the relics into Paris.
And it is
split. The one scene shows Queen Helen finding it, and then the next scene shows him carrying them. Is it down here?
No, it's the repeated motif over and over. So they didn't make it that specific.
Come on,
right?
Game designers.
I know.
Up your game, please.
Right, they didn't get that right. They didn't get the ceiling right. But so, as if this is not expensive enough, right? Stained glass is one of the most expensive materials. Processes you can pay for at this moment. And the most expensive color you can make, right, is blue. And so this has a obvious preponderance of blue as this ostentatious does not cover it sort of display of wealth. But also they hire the 3 best ateliers or factories in Europe to produce these series of stained glasses. And historically, they can tell by the style.
Right.
And then here we get a great example of the lead tracery that holds the glasses together. So there's the major sections, right? So these quatrefoil shapes will pop out into one section, and then we can see how they're held together in smaller bits with lead. But right, each one of those pieces, right, that we see those black lines around, is its own piece of glass.
Right, disassemblable.
Right, yes. So somebody slots these together like puzzle pieces to build these enormous.
That's a good view. It shows it well, actually. I mean, I know it's a repeat.
Yeah.
But it looks good.
Excellent scale and color. Again, we are missing. This better gives us the speckled color of light.
Yeah.
But when we were there, we caught it in the afternoon. And even in our pictures of it, it looks like you're standing inside a kaleidoscope.
Truly, all of the light is colorful. Like there's no just white light or plain light. Even here, it's a nice diffused golden warm light.
Yeah.
That's good. But really, it's red and blue and just
Yellow
all
and
those different
yeah,
colors, and it's just
lots of the
really
blue
it's
and sort of
special.
purpley. Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is.
there's some good photos that capture it pretty
Hmm.
well. But like even here where we can see the shapes of the windows on the floor, you
Yeah,
can at certain times of day you can legitimately see the images that are in the stained
yeah,
glass cast onto the floor,
absolutely.
like in detail. So
Yeah, yeah. Really, any time of day you're seeing colored shafts of light coming,
yeah,
especially with the incense burners on, leaving that
yeah,
smoke in
I
the
do
air.
like that.
And so these very much, and I always like to tell this story that I am not a particularly religious person, but
Fair.
walking into these, being
Yeah,
like not wanting to be converted, but walking into these, you're like, oh man, these are powerful structures. Like they are doing
I
the
get it.
work.
Yeah,
Like if this is what it was like every day, I'd be like, yeah, I might be a
yeah,
Catholic. Like
yeah.
you might have
And
just
just
done your job.
the experience
Yeah.
of I am outside, it is hot, it is sunny. We were there during a heat wave.
Yep.
Nothing is air
Oh,
conditioned,
that's
and you're
such a great point to
miserable.
bring up. Yes.
And then you walk in and it's 10 degrees cooler.
Mm-hmm.
The light that comes in is this cool blue instead of just being pounded by sun.
Yep.
It's a totally different feeling and atmosphere than anywhere else you would have ever been.
And even if they're busy, they're still so much quieter than the
That's true.
outside.
Yeah.
And like when
Yeah.
we saw it at Saint Chapelle, there would have been music, right? There would have been the
Yep.
organ. There would have been.
Yeah.
I mean, these aren't the exact correct terms for the instrument, but lutes and like wooden flutes, and sometimes
Sure. Different
drums
kind of
played.
musical instruments.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
sorts of different musical
Singing and
instruments. So we can see here it's attached to
cool. That's neat.
the old palace. All right, what time is it? How
No big
much?
deal. Like, yeah, Louis doesn't even have to leave his house to
No.
go here, right?
So the brilliant, nefarious, insidious bit of this church lies with this underneath floor, which again historically may have been in disrepair and
Sure.
inaccessible at this moment, but that's where the second floor starts. Right? We can
Mm-hmm.
see we don't have a lot of space here.
Mm-hmm.
And we have these very tiny stained glass windows.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to imagine this bottom floor would have looked just like the first one,
Mm-hmm.
but with everything but the top 10 feet cut off. So like we were smushed right up to the ceiling. Yeah, it doesn't look
Right.
like there's a
Yeah.
way in. But
Uh-uh.
tell it, do you want, all right, so I want to real quick go back to the idea of the sort of the echo. Right. So
Yeah.
at the center we have the instruments of the Passion, right? The piece of the true cross,
Yes.
and the and then we can get
Crown of Thorns.
the crown of thorns, and
Oh,
we can get up here,
snap.
right next to the, and then
Ah,
here we see the big stone tracery for
yes.
that only the rose windows get.
Lol at them just repeating this design over and over, and
Yeah.
it's like upside down and facing all different directions. That's
It's a
funny.
little bit, especially considering how much of the rose windows are the fleur de lis pattern,
Yeah.
which would have been
Yeah.
easy to do, but they get
Yeah.
the spectacle of
Yeah. I don't
it.
care. I like it.
Just
Yeah.
the like awe-inspiring, like
Yes.
it would be like us seeing the Vegas sphere for the first time
Oh,
and going
snap.
in it, and you're just like, the hell is this? Oh man! And then like a
Yeah.
priest comes by and hits you because you blasphemed in church.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
But it would have just
Definitely is.
been a bonkers experience in your lifetime
Yeah.
to have seen one of
Yeah.
these. I mean,
Yeah.
literally the journey of a lifetime that you take on your pilgrimage that you're going to
Yeah.
go on. These would
One
have
of
been, right, almost like the Vegas Strip. The cities are competing with each other to draw
Yeah.
your business, your travel there. So, but again, we get inside. There's the reliquary right there, and then around it, our altar is like a tiny copy of the church, right?
Right.
It has its bottom floor, its top floor, the ceiling, which is supposed to have the fleur de lis instead of the stars.
So good.
And like
Yeah.
all good Gothic churches, we see that pointed arch replicated everywhere, right? It's almost like fractal, where there's a big pointed arch that breaks into 2, that breaks into 4,
Yeah.
that breaks into 8,
Yeah.
you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And what this does is it creates the church as an echo of this reliquary where we almost didn't build a church,
Right.
but we built a giant human-sized reliquary.
Architectural reliquary.
An
Like a
architectural
painting every
reliquary to house the man of Louis the Ninth, the
Yeah.
myth of Louis the Ninth, where he is the true
So
relic,
good.
right? He is the
yeah.
true thing being housed within inside this like living Fabergé egg.
Yes. Ooh, Fabergé egg. That's a good one.
And if we are lucky enough to be in his inner circle where we are invited to his Sunday service, we do not come up here unless by the rarest of invitations. This is specifically for him and maybe his family. We attend service directly underneath, right? And underneath looks pretty much like if we started, there's going to be some life-size statues on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to just climb up to where we can sort of see where the ceiling underneath starts. So there'll be those tiny stained glass windows. Come on, climb up, buddy. All right, but essentially up at the top of those columns, it's a very low ceiling. It's a very small space.
Yeah.
And all of the good stuff is above us. And again, when we think about, right, we have one here, the ribbed vault, it highlights that vertical transcendence. So when we are underneath thinking about the vertical transcendence, thinking about this human relic that lives above us, we look upwards, and it's not God or the church that we have to go through first. Right? It's King Louis the Ninth has situated himself directly in the path of our salvation, right? And that shows his close connection and dependence on the church. And that's even replicated in the swapping of the fleur-de-lis for the stars, right? Because heaven is no longer occupied by the stars, it is occupied by the Bourbons, right?
French.
Yeah, they have put their mark, literally the king's trademark, onto the heavens, right? And they believe that he is going to be the next coming of Christ, in a sense, that he's going to bring Jerusalem back to Paris and save the Crusades. And then he ends up shitting himself to death in North Africa. Wah, wah, right? We were so close. We were so close.
We were there.
But then he does the opposite.
Turn around.
He gets dysentery, he dies, and everybody in Europe is so bummed out. We just start focusing on Spain.
But then, who should make a new bang but Louis the 14th
Yeah.
out at Versailles?
And we're going to head, Bevin, $1 million segue.
How do we get
Just-
out there?
We are going to do a little bit of video game magic, and we're going to fast travel.
IRL, we would take a bus.
And IRL, we would take a bus.
To Versailles.
But we are going to fast travel back to our, which is really not far. It's on the Ile de la Louis, so it's just the island south of Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's not far, but it is like outside of Paris.
Well, I mean, his house here. Our house here, we can see Notre Dame from our house. But, so we're going to walk over here and go to this fancy... Oh, wait. Scratch that. We can go... All right, real quick.
We're just going to run there?
Kind of.
Oh, we're going to take a coach.
We're going to take a coach, but the coach doesn't take us to the palace. It takes us to the city. So I'm just going to show us the city for like 30 seconds, right? That there is a city that lives nearby the king.
Yeah.
Right, so this is the actual city of Versailles that you drive through even today.
Wow.
Right, that...
I don't even remember the city. Did we just go straight to the palace, pretty much?
Pretty much. Yeah, we just drove through the city. I remember we talked about how pretty it was, and then we got that lecture about the special breed of trees they have that shed their bark so that they don't get killed by the city pollution.
Oh, that's right.
And there's like a...
bark.
Yeah, and there's like a really nice row of them.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that. You have a good memory.
All right. So
when we went out to Versailles, we did go through the interior, and in my classes, we talk about the absolute monarchy. Louis the 14th, XIV, is the Roi Soleil, the Sun King, he called himself. And this is where he lived,
Mm-hmm.
his royal palace, a mixture of Baroque and Rococo,
Mm-hmm.
but all of the extravagance that could ever be imagined is on full display at the Palace of Versailles. I talk a lot about it being about performing his
Yes,
power, like
absolutely.
kingship as pageant, and this is the stage, man.
Yeah, so one of the greatest, and this was from Dr. Baxter, greatest
Yeah,
analogies I've ever heard was to think of it like a human dollhouse,
yeah,
and half of it is explicitly designed to remind you of that. Right? So
yes,
that's the thing
yes.
that a lot of people don't know is Versailles is designed in two explicit halves. So real quick, the game itself, because it happens during the Revolution, Versailles is closed. So
Ah,
our character can't get in, but the story when he's a boy starts off at Versailles. So we do sort of have a
okay.
way to access, right? That's the
Oh,
famous Hyacinth Rigaud
there he is.
portrait.
Lol. Is that us?
Yes, that this is Arnaud as a child.
Okay.
Right. So there's a couple areas. There's a specific area where we get to see the Hall of Mirrors. We might have to sort of run long and play through some stuff to get there, but Versailles is actually, I always sort of lead with the joke, it's the world's most beautiful prison.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right. So these rooms, all of the individual rooms here, would have been designed along the early salon theme. Right, so
Yes.
each room would have going towards this idea of it being like a fun house or a doll
Yeah.
house. Each room is
Yeah.
given its own theme,
Yes.
right? So it would be decorated more than what we're seeing here, right? There would
Yeah.
be no empty space on the ceiling undecorated,
Right.
and everything is perfectly trimmed in the interior. What we're most likely going to see is either a mix of what they've done a little bit here, which is called chinoiserie, which would
Yeah.
have been porcelain decoration hung on the wall, and it's like China. The chinoiserie is like from China, so it's like
Yeah.
how in the modern period we have the Japonisme, which it's not
Yeah.
authentic Japanese, but it's their interpretation. We would have
Yeah.
seen
We've been
this.
talking about Orientalism in
Yes.
Survey 2.
So this is a form of literal Orientalism happening in the late 18th century, and it's manifested in chinoiserie, and it's this
Yeah.
double fixation with porcelain, which is a closely held secret of Chinese crafts people, and lacquered wood, which is also a Chinese. So all of
Yeah.
our desks and furniture here at this
Look
time
at
is
it
lacquered,
all.
and then we have what is actually shaved silk and satin wallpaper. So this
Yes.
is one of
Look
the
at the
things
wallpaper.
Versailles is very well known for. Is it's
Fab.
got some of the world's most expensive wallpapering, and it's like actual fabric and paper where they'll
Yeah.
shave it and brush it to create these different
Yeah.
textures on it. And again, this would have been like porcelain around the ceiling that's painted gold, right? But the ceiling would have been much more decorated.
Yeah. Oh, oops. Sorry, dude. Knocked over your pig. I often emphasize to my students that Versailles felt to me like a fun house.
Yes,
Like, because
absolutely.
things I thought were marble were like faux painted
Mm-hmm.
wood,
Mm-hmm.
and things I thought were gold were like
J-
stucco painted gold.
just like modern architecture.
Yeah, it was very much just a veneer, and
Yeah.
he is the richest, most powerful dude around, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not an act, but the house, the place puts on so much airs and so much, it exaggerates that so much.
Yes, and it does that. We're going to sort of just play through this mission here real quick, and it does that at a specific reason, right? So the place is turned into the structure we see here by Louis XIV, and he does so as a response to the Fronde Rebellion, right? Where his aristocracy, the nobility, tried to essentially form a coup and try to overthrow him. And it's a very expensive and costly war. So he embodies that keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, where he essentially tells all of them your lives are forfeit, your lands are forfeit, your titles are forfeit, unless you do your duty to the court and come and stay at the court, which is now in this really inconvenient location that separates all of you from your houses and your armies, and anybody else you would need to foment with.
Right.
And so their half that they live in is that cheap funhouse half.
Right.
Right? Where the French perfume industry takes off because he purposefully did not put bathrooms in their half. So it is a well-known thing in Versailles that you will see people pooping in the hallways and on the grounds because they've been left nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Right? And so you go to the king's side, and his side is nice. The gold is real gold. The crystal's real crystal. The marble's real marble. But on the side you live on, it's fake. And then every day is you performing these perfunctory duties of somebody holds the king's morning tissue, somebody holds his evening tissue, somebody kneels down to help him take one shoe off, and another person kneels down. And depending on the order of the day and the task, your popularity in the court is judged on that. So he keeps them doing that pageantry, that play, again, to occupy them and keep them from fomenting insurrection again. Like, if they're too busy fighting amongst each other, doing this performative thing.
Right.
But then he sort of inadvertently, politically, kind of sells out the absolute monarchy as this major performance that no other person can really manage, especially his sons.
Yeah, very true. And I often bring up the Hall of Mirrors while we're performing all of this.
And we'll get to that here in one of these little missions.
And we just watch ourselves wipe his butt.
Yes.
You know?
We watch ourselves walk in his magnificence by his permission, on his grounds, under his authority. And he also does things like makes the people there remain in full court dress 24/7. Because they have to be ready at a moment's notice for him to walk by, and they need to be doing their thing that they are doing.
I think I like Louis the 14th now.
Right? And so every day, you're wearing unstretching silk, whalebone corsets, high heels, leggings, all of these not breathing layers.
A dumb wig.
Yes, you're wearing the powder. And things like the powdered wig take off because the people at Versailles are so dirty. Right? They do not have access to clean water all the time. They don't have access to bathrooms. Right? And they're literal prisoners at this one unending party. Right?
Totally insane.
It's almost like a ring of hell, where they're like a Dante's ring of hell, where their very life of opulence is turned against them. All right. So, we're going to skip through this because we don't need to play this part. And I'm going to try to find us the other part of Versailles.
Cool.
Yeah, this is the early exposition.
Ooh.
Which I think it's disappointing we can't go back into Versailles later. Although historically accurate that he would have no reason to go back in.
Obviously would have been an enormous amount of work to give us free reign to run around, but, you know. When Dave and I were at Versailles, we did the interior, and it was jam-packed with people. Like, it was so people-y. And then we spent the rest of the time out on the grounds, which was far more pleasant because you can actually spread out a little bit more. And all of the gardens, and maybe it wasn't as dreadfully hot that day. I don't remember that anyway. And we took a boat, and Dave rowed us around in the Grand Canal. They have this huge, lake, basically, built in the grounds at Versailles. And I remember that we had to give them some sort of collateral to take out a paddle boat, and I just gave them my camera.
Yeah.
Which was like a Nikon Coolpix.
Which
or
it was
something.
like a way better camera than we ever should have given him for
And I
collateral.
just forked it over and was like, well, you can just hang on to this while I go out in the boat.
Well, I
guess.
remember,
Like, that can't be their official system.
and I don't think I'm making this up, but I swear they like offered Rachel Gaddy's camera, but hers was like a serious SLR.
Had, like, a DSLR.
Yeah, and she was
a
like,
real camera.
hell no, I'm letting them use my camera.
No. Yeah, and so I was like, here, this is a Nikon Coolpix. Enjoy.
And I'm pretty sure I just told the person, like, I'd rowed boats before, like it would be fine.
Yeah, and you rode it, and there were baby swans,
Yeah.
and I started to get anxious because I don't really like being in a boat.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried about like not having an exit strategy, like almost like a claustrophobia thing in the boat. And I just remember you like trying to maneuver the boat to demonstrate to me that you could pull over and let me out at a moment's notice if needed.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I guess. And I just stayed in the boat and we rode around for a little while and until we had to run back.
Yeah. And really, one of the other things that you don't get with just walking through the building like we did with Versailles are the grounds. The gardens are bonkers enormous.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's like, it feels like a state park size.
It's unending.
Yeah.
There's no way to see it all.
No, and then there's multiple different buildings that you have to go to that you would have taken a horse or a carriage back in the day, right? Like Marie Antoinette has her own little milkmaid village.
It's just a city unto itself.
Yeah, all right. We can try to hang on and get some more.
You think you're going to make it back to Versailles or 9?
We will at some point. It's just somewhere inside these missions. I don't know how long we want to.
Okay. Well, we can. What I'll do is I'll read the last question, and maybe we can leave people with that to think on. It's 7, so we can start to sort of wrap up our thoughts. The last question asks, folks, Notre Dame de Paris, Sainte-Chapelle, and the Palace of Versailles are all designed to be architectural spectacles. That's a good phrase. Is this feeling conveyed in the game? Are there any elements or areas that feel especially effective? And does the architectural space of the game feel different from other spaces? So I think that those are really are good questions to end on. And, you know, like I said, I was ready to sort of say, like, no, this feeling is not conveyed in the game, just because I couldn't imagine how it possibly could be.
Yeah.
But there is a sense of awe. There is a sense of the height. Like I said, like I am afraid of heights.
Yeah.
And there were moments in all of this that felt that kind of anxiety.
Yeah.
So.
But what we can do real quick is get an exterior view.
Oh, let's do an exterior view.
Yeah, we can't walk over there, but from our. Oh, hang on.
What is this?
This is starting us on a. So that's the little redhead we were following when we were a kid.
Oh, I get
but
it.
Right over here is the palace.
Isn't that nice?
Right, so you would have had to have come up this road, and the road would have gently swept uphill to where you would have arrived at it with the arms of the palace like reaching around to draw you in. So this is one of those sort of space conflating things where it is not in real life this close to the city. Where we could probably see it from the top of this tower, but it's not this close. But the game, right, puts it just right over here to make it,
which is nice.
Make it accessible
I like the way he makes it look like he's struggling to balance there for us a little bit, you know, like
he's kind of
trying to keep his balance. Yeah. See, I don't.
And then
I
he
don't
can
care
just
for that height.
Yeah.
Just a wagon of hay.
Yeah.
No matter where he wants to
Yep. Wherever he needs to land, there's a wagon.
Wherever he needs to land, there's a wagon of hay.
And yeah.
Oh, I love it. This was fun. This was
Yeah. This one's real good. And Assassin's Creed does a lot of the buildings well. They get things wrong sometimes, but they always give you a sense of, again, one of my favorite things to talk about, right, is that sense of spectacle, that division between regular spaces, interior and exterior.
Yeah.
Right? All of the things that Gothic architecture does to quite figuratively and literally mark itself as a special space compared to anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then again,
yeah,
Assassin's
I think it does a
Creed
good job of that.
invents access, right? There is no person in the world, church in the world, that we can just go up to and physically climb like this, right? Even the best free solo and building climbers in the world don't climb like this.
No.
Right?
No.
They aren't immune to falling. Yeah. And then just the total unfettered access to what are real, scanned places,
cool.
like where we're more than anything getting the sense of scale here better than I think anywhere other than the real space. And in some instances, like again, we can't do this on the actual church and
better than the real space.
Even though sort of a manufactured way, right?
Yeah. But it gives you the opportunity to see it in a way that we can't appreciate in real life.
But again, the thing you and I have always talked about as sort of like a teaching tool, how effective these can be in demonstrating what these spaces feel like, which is an undersold element of architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Cool.
Very cool.
All right.
Okay.
Well, this was fun, everybody.
For those of you who hung around.
Yeah.
And we will dream up what we might do next time.
Yep. Are there any leftover questions? Lingering questions?
I don't think so. There were some that really remarked on stinky people at a false hellish party and stuff. That was cool. But no lingering questions. I think we're doing good.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Very neat.
Onward. Upward.
There is a part of with the Hall of Mirrors in here. Whenever I find it again, I will make even just like a little walkthrough recording of it and post it on our YouTube channel.
That would be awesome. Yeah, do that.
Yeah. Because it's locked in one of the procedural parts of a mission where it's like, one of those walking cutscenes.
Film that would be a good video to have.
I'll load that one up.
We do have a couple were mentioning game Rex in the chat, and I don't know the game Rain World, but we have a request for that. Do you know the
Rain World?
Rain World?
Not off the top of my head, but that doesn't mean we can't come to know it.
And someone else today in class, we were talking about the Atomic Age, and someone brought up Fallout.
Yeah.
And then someone in my intro class mentioned Ghosts of
Tsushima.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you want to talk about Ghosts of Tsushima? I got Ghosts of Tsushima. Oh, I'm a master at that. And that's Edo period Japan, based off of
art the other day,
based off of a real invasion, a real attempted Mongolian invasion. And it's much like the Assassin's Creed games, where they're built around real periods and real moments in time, or real people and real moments in time, but they create a fictional character to link historical events together.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Ooh, we definitely could do Ghosts of Tsushima. And for a contemporary game that makes an argument for art, the greatest game review I ever heard was there was a famed Japanese designer for Capcom, or one of the Japanese companies, that when he first played it, because it's an American company that made Ghost of Tsushima. He said he was hurt that it hadn't been made by Japanese designers, because it was the most authentically ancient Japan he had ever seen in a game.
That's really cool.
And he was like, I'm a little hurt and then also stunned that people who weren't Japanese did so well at capturing this place and moment in time. Yeah. And that one's got a lot of fun stuff in it. So if we want to, especially if we want to do like a landscape one. Yeah. All right, cool.
Okay, thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
You too, and bon voyage, right?
Bon voyage, yes.
Keeping our French.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Vive la liberté.
Yeah.
Vive la France. Bon voyage.
Not with your head.
Yep.
Oh.
or whatever. Yeah, we're close enough.
You get the point.
Yeah.
You get the point.
All right, everybody. Have a good
Okay.
good evening. Have a good weekend. All right.
Finish us off.
Finish.
Send us on YouTube.
Yeah. I'm gonna let me get us out of here.
Finish us.